Okay, hey everybody, Cherry Treats here. I'm gonna do something a little different here. I'm going to talk about anime. Alright, now buckle up. All My Hero Academia fans, gather round because it's 3 a.m. and I've got a frickin' essay for you. I've got a conspiracy theory for the ages for you nerds, about everyone's favorite protagonist syndrome anime. This is going to be guessing during Season 1 that Rose Quartz's Pink Diamond level seer ability on my part, and I am going to impart my future vision knowledge to all of you nerds. Fair warning, this info comes heavily from stuff in the manga, so if you've only seen the anime, spoiler from here on, okay? Ready? Go. Both Bakugo and Kirishima are past one-for-all users, and by extension, Deku is getting both of their quirks. Alright, so small recap so we're all on the same page. Deku got a quirk from All Might called One for All that has been passed down a line of succession for generations. Each person to hold the quirk condenses it and makes it stronger and stronger down the line. Deku is the 9th person to hold One for All, and the 2nd known holder to be quirkless to start with, the other being Toshinori himself. In chapter 211 of the manga, it was revealed by accident that Deku will be the first of the One for All users to unlock every other quirk that has come into contact with it. During some basic training at UA with Class B, he unlocks the quirk Black Whip from a past user. This user, yet unnamed, explains to Deku that he will get a powered-up version of every predecessor's quirk, because One for All is mutating, so to speak. A few chapters prior to this, in chapters 193 and 194, Deku has a dream about One for All where he gets to see a couple shots of every user. First, this one at the start of the dream, then this one at the end, finally a third in chapter 211 when talking to Black Whip. It's only these two users that are silhouetted in every single shot, and at first it's just mildly suspicious. Then, wait, are those Bakugo's grenades? And Kirishima's shoulder gears? Bakugo's hair is even identical to the hair outline of the left silhouette, but while the silhouettes are strikingly similar to the fan favorite No Homo Bromos, this is not enough evidence by itself to think that they are Bakugo and Kirishima. But there's more. As you can see, every user, regardless of chronology and Deku's knowledge of them, is fully detailed and clear, with the exception of these two suspicious silhouettes, and All Might, who is a misty outlier because he is still alive. A ghost among ghosts, so to speak. So the detail of the image in Deku's mind isn't based on One for All timeline or his knowledge of the user, but there still has to be some reason for these two being undetailed. Doyleist explanation being that they're people Deku knows and Horikoshi wants to make a reveal. The Watsonian explanation is that Bakugo and Kirishima know that they can't be seen by Deku yet and probably are consciously hiding themselves to keep something of a time loop stable. But how is this possible, Cherry, you might ask? Well, I mean, with the wonderful world of reality-shattering quirks, nothing is out of the question. Why would time travel be so unthinkable? We've had direct interaction with a hero whose quirk can tell the future. Zygaenidae was introduced in chapter 126, and his quirk is to predict the future with startling accuracy, which implies to me pretty solidly that there is at least a semi-fixed timeline in the universe that can be accessed. And in that same arc where Zygaenidae is revealed, the plot centers around a little girl with a currently unusable and not fully understood time quirk. Eri is a little girl who acts as the MacGuffin for the rescue arc starting in chapter 126. All we know about Eri's quirk so far is that it can turn back the time of a person or a thing she touches uncontrollably and potentially into non-existence. The plot right now has a lot of focus on trying to understand and control Eri's quirk, so that she can live a normal life and potentially re-quirk anime Tintin. This is a tragedy I take very seriously. And that focus, together with Eri being a persistent character after the rescue arc, is making me theorize that her quirk will be a catalyst for Bakugo and Kirishima going back in time to become One for All users. From a storytelling standpoint, Horikoshi had to have kept Eri around permanently with the intent of keeping her plot relevant, and I personally doubt that it starts and ends with re-quirking the Fallout mascot. Eri's gonna grow and learn how to use her quirk and still be prevalent after that event. Aizawa is her frickin' guardian now. He's not gonna toss her into childcare the minute she won't kill anyone with her quirk. He's a proud parent of 22 idiot gremlins. And although our current understanding of her quirk doesn't cover sending people back on the grand timeline, there are two different ways the plot can develop her quirk to account for it. One just being the current lack of understanding both she and the rest of the cast have regarding her quirk, and throughout the story she will develop more ability as she gains mastery. Or, another option is the mechanic revealed in one of the most recent chapters. quirk mutation. It has now been established in Chapter 226 that under the right conditions a person's quirk can mutate, either growing in raw strength or developing a related additional ability. This being showcased with Toga under extreme stress and threat of death, being able to mutate her quirk and allow her to use the ability of the person she's copying. I'm leaning towards Aries' quirk mutating into the ability rather than it being there already, but I feel like either is likely and feasible. Now there are two more things I'd like to discuss. First, my sub-theory that Kirishima, after going back with Bakugo, will assume the identity of Crimson Riot. Oh yeah, you think I'm done with the curveballs? Eventually inspiring his own younger self in a loop. And second is just my feelings on how the theory works from a storytelling angle. Kirishima has struggled with thinking that he's good enough or strong enough to match up with the rest of his class, and he looked to Crimson Riot as his ideal and inspiration. He tends to be self-sacrificing to an unhealthy extreme and doesn't have a high enough self-worth. So the eventuality of becoming the exact ideal hero for him is awesome. And from how Horikoshi has been setting it up so far, it seems almost obvious. Kirishima isn't just the first character to have a favorite pro hero who isn't All Might. He is the only person who consistently openly admires a different pro hero before the internship arc. He's also the only character to pick a homage name instead of an entirely unique one. Deku's inner monologue during that chapter even highlights his desire to separate himself from All Might and make his own mark. So from an audience stance, Kirishima is directly contradicting the notion that students are going to be their own heroes and make their own waves. Thematically, he stands out like this, and his hero name is less a homage and more a weaker seeming copy. Not in the sense that it's a worse name, but read together, Red Riot sounds like a beta version of Crimson Riot, like it's bound to evolve into the more vibrant, richer color. I just really want this to be the case, you guys. Kirishima is my favorite dude. Secondly, this One for All theory holds a lot of poetic irony and full circle arc potential for both Deku and Bakugo. It's been established that Deku is set to receive every quirk of the past users, which, given this theory, includes Bakugo's explosion quirk. We can spare a second of thought to the thematic excellence that the quirk that has solidified Bakugo's toxic mindset of superiority over others, especially Deku, would end up in the hands of said quirkless nobody he had dismissed his entire childhood. But what I find even more fantastic is the potential of Deku's moment of acquiring the quirk, and the point of turning it will bring for both the plot and Bakugo's character arc. This reveal can be played to kickstart the rest of the reveal, Deku suddenly gaining explosion and it triggering the investigation and realization that the two will go back in time, and it would be most effective if the reveal happened during Deku vs. Kacchan 3, which obviously there will be a third full chapter fight. Rule of 3, you guys. It's been established that the first new quirk came out when Deku had the intent and thoughts most applicable to the quirk. He wanted to contain and capture his opponent to such a strong degree that it triggered its appearance. In another fight with Bakugo, now that their rivalry has been formalized and it's not Deku trying to catch up, now that they are equals and Deku knows that, his feelings of wanting to win will come to a boiling point and trigger Bakugo's own quirk inside of him, which, foreshadowing. Imagine what that will do to Bakugo, who already has gone through immense growth to gain a centimeter of modesty and decent amount of respect for Deku, and suddenly, with no context at that point, all this poetic justice literally blasts him in the face. Imagine how he might react. Will he lapse back into pride and lash out for a while? Will he take it smoothly? Will he not accept it? Will he be bitter? More determined to beat Deku now that Deku has literally every advantage to prove that he will always win despite the biggest case of protagonist syndrome the anime world has ever seen? I don't know, but I swear I need to find out. Now, I'm documenting my theory in full detail for all of YouTube to see, so that when the inevitable reveal that I'm right happens, I can source back to this and set the record straight that I've done guessed it. I'm a better frickin' seer than Night Eye and Rose Lalonde combined, and I want to be acknowledged. Alright, you guys. I'll see you next time. It's been a treat.